Hi, I'm Ina, and I do art stuff and things. And parrots, they have nothing to do with that whatsoever, except that they were outside when I was filming the intro. It'd be rude not to, right? This is my first video of 2023, yay! But I also had many other videos planned during the holidays that did not happen. Boo! Why is not important. What is important is that I'm back in my studio and I'm painting and making videos about it, which is what I love to do, and hopefully you'll stick around and see what's in store today. In the last couple of weeks I've painted this and also this, and someone who is not my mother asked me how to do the background and how to do these clouds, and I thought, should I do the background or should I do the clouds? And obviously I'm going to do both. This is a test painting. We'll be doing something very similar but different because it's all experimental really and abstract. I'll list all the materials I'm using down in the description, but obviously you'll need paper and paint and brushes, but more importantly you'll need tape and also masking fluid for a bonus little video at the end. Not this painting, but I've discovered something when I was experimenting. Also you'll need water and white ink, and let's pretend that I don't use my trousers to wipe my brushes. First you are going to tape the outside border. That's what I'm doing here. I'm using thinner tape, but you don't have to, you can do what you want. But then I am using thicker tape to protect the section where I'm going to paint the background on the inside. So for this I'm going to use rainbow colors. No other reason except that it has a lot of bright colors, and boy do I love bright colors. So what we're going to paint first is the sky, and for that we have to wet the paper, because we're going to do a wash of the sky, and what I'm going to do is use red, because why not, and then I'm going to use the end of the rainbow colors, which is purple, and go from the bottom, and this purple was just not dark enough, so I added some of the blue into it. Again, it's experimental, it's abstract, why not? I think whilst doing these kind of paintings, why not should be a mantra really. And here I'm adding in a little bit of all the other colors. I don't want this to be a full complete rainbow, because as much as I love bright colors, that would just be crazy and too much. So next step is putting in some clouds, and that's the easy and fun part, and I'm using a dirty rag for this. You can use toilet paper or paper towel. My paper towel is far too textured, so I chose to use a bit of cloth. Next step, you want to define your clouds a bit by bringing in a bit of contrast around them. It's quite an easy step. All you have to do is dab in some pigment with water, because the clouds have been, dewatered. That's not a word. You remove the water with your paper towel or cloth. The pigment just disperses around that area into the still wet areas. Next, you want to give your clouds a bit of volume, because they're looking a tad flat, aren't they? So to do that, you just mix in a very, very light, one darker color, something like blue or purple, and just consistently apply it underneath. We're going to assume that the light is coming from above, and voila, you have some fluffy clouds. Next you want to add in few reflections. As you can see, we have a very bright sky, so clearly it's going to reflect in the clouds, and that's what I've done here. Don't get crazy, or do. Again, it's experimental and it's abstract, so your rules. Why do we tape?
Why do we fold?
So we can peel again and again and again. Did I ever mention that's my favorite part? Well, it is. And now for the fun and the crazy part. Basically, what you do is you pick up the colors you've chosen and you just slap them on.
Slap at that bass, man! I slap at that bass!
Oh, Polaroid, We love them on this channel. And by we, I mean me. Anyway, back to the painting. I am using a flat brush. You can use whatever brush you want, but for this technique, I feel flat brush is good. The key to this technique is not thinking. You've decided your colors before you started, so just go with it. Just slap them where you feel is right. And it might not necessarily be right, but who cares, because this is experimental and fun and abstract. Did I mention that? So also the top we're going to wipe off, so it doesn't even matter, but I'm doing it together because I want to flow. And yeah, just go on and apply your strokes until your page is full until your page is full. And you need to work fast, because the next step, you guessed it, we're just continuing on with the clouds. The steps are the same. You dab on the clouds and then you define them, but the considerations are a little bit different because, well, you don't have sky anymore. So what do? Well, in this case, I left the clouds to dry and added some purple in the corner there because it just didn't feel strong enough. And then I went to town on the top and wiped it off as promised. But why paint it if you're just going to wipe it off? Well, this technique, if you can call it that, was born from me using too many bright and bold colors as background, which made the subject matter of the whatever artwork I was working on at the time disappear and pale in significance. So I wiped off and added some white ink. It creates an interesting effect, and because I painted it first and then wiped it off, the underneath shines through and marries up with the rest of the work. And that's my reasoning behind it, and I'm sticking to it. So now we have to define the clouds, and in this case what I'm doing is adding in white ink because the staining of the paint was too much, and I thought I'm gonna add some highlights to make the clouds pop a little bit more, but the rest of it I'm using previous steps. I am defining the edges by adding some contrasting colors in between. I'm adding a little bit of shade. And in the case of the outside clouds, I didn't actually have to add in any reflections. As you can see, the pigment is quite strong there, so they were already there. So that's the clouds done. And now some finishing touches to the painting. And again, that is feels only. It felt like there needed to be a bit more white brush strokes. And that's what I added at the top and at the bottom. And then I noticed this weird cauliflower effect that one of the clouds was creating once it dries, so here comes white ink to fix that, because white ink, it fixes everything. It won't win you any watercolor competitions though, but if you're just doing this for fun, why not? You can also use gouache, and this is gold because, well, why not? It felt right. It felt like it was time. I have not used any metallics this year in a painting yet, so my soul was crying out for something shiny, okay? General rule with the metallics is less is more. I normally believe that more is more, but in this case I was very... what's the opposite of liberal? Conservative. Conservative, yes. Politics, ooh, look at how shiny. Now for the best and final part. You guessed it. Let's peel some tape. And there you have it. That's how I paint that. But wait a second. You didn't use any masking fluid. No, I didn't. I did in the tester and it was too much, but I discovered something interesting that I'd like to share with you. I'm using 4 different paints. They're all professional grade. Firstly, applying water, and this is reused tape, and if you're reusing tape, just be careful because it can leak, which happened here, but it doesn't matter because I'm using Indigo. What am I doing here? Well, that's masking fluid, and I'm just dabbing it in straight into the wet pigment, and it's blooming quite nicely, don't you think? So what I'm going to do is, you guessed it, repeat it with all the other 3 paints. it's dry. So all we have to do now is peel, and that's just what I'm going to do. First, I'm carefully removing all of the tape and leaving most of the masking fluid for later, because we will need some tools, and that's the rubber cement and tweezers. When the masking fluid dispersed in the pigment in the water, it became quite thin, so it would be really hard to do with your fingers. Definitely hard to do with my fingers. So tweezers come with the rubber cement. I would advise using it only if you absolutely have to, and only if you're completely certain that the pigment is dry, because it smudges. I think I used it in one place just to show, but yeah, you could smudge the pigment and ruin your painting. And yeah, so I just thought I'd add some shadows in one or two of them, actually three. As you can see, Indigo needed nothing. Those are perfectly formed, beautiful shaded clouds with absolutely no effort whatsoever. So is it cheating? Probably. I don't care, because look at these pretty clouds. Is this white ink cap stuck to my sweater sleeve? Yes it is. Well, that's it from me. I hope you liked this video, and I hope to see you again. Thanks for watching. Bye!